be diligent, be consistent, do a little bit all the time. And it's crazy how it'll grow. My business, like I was super busy working 80 hours a week and I make quadruple what I made back then. It's all about valuing your family, valuing your time, because time is, you can't get that back.
Welcome back, crafted entrepreneurs. Today we have a special guest. I've been getting to know her over the last year, and I absolutely love just everything that she brings to the table for women empowerment and Christians in business. We're going to have a conversation about entrepreneurship and hair. Today, I'm joined by Sheleen Williams. She's a master stylist, a salon owner, and a hair transformation specialist. She not only helps women, but she also helps men. Her passion is transformation and connecting people. So I absolutely love what Sheleen's doing in the world. And I know you're going to love getting to know her. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited. You flew all the way here. You look beautiful.
Thank you.
Your hair is just like, it's like vavoom.
It's why I love what I do. I love hair.
If you're listening to this right now, you got to go over to YouTube and see what I'm talking about. Okay. You got to look at the whole shebang. So how did you get involved in the hair industry?
Honestly, I was in high school and just feeling crazy. I didn't understand why. I couldn't remember when tests were happening. The whole school thing drove me crazy. I felt like I could write plays and play music and do all these things, but it was impossible for me to stay focused. So, which now we know that as ADD. And so there was a program that I was able to get into. It was called ROTC at the time. I
remember my high school had that. Yeah.
So I did the high school cosmetology program and I got in there and I was like, oh, this is so easy. Like, I love this. This is perfect. And that was just like a marriage made in heaven. I never turned back.
So you just found that creative part of you and really fell in love with that whole world. My mom actually did that same program in high school.
That's cool.
My mom has been a hairstylist for, I don't know, over 40 years now.
Yeah.
So I have a heart. I know I told you that when I met you. I'm like, I just totally have a heart for you. So you got started. You had to really quick realize that hairstyling is not just about going in and making people feel beautiful, but there's a whole business attached to it. You got to build out a clientele, and it's really like feast or famine too in that industry. So what did you do as a young woman to get your name out there and start building out your clientele?
I literally did everything. I worked at modeling agencies. I worked at Nordstrom. I worked at an office. So I'd have benefits, I worked part-time in an office. I worked at a salon in the afternoons. I would just do anything. I would do anybody's hair, anybody's makeup, anybody's skin, anybody's nails. I was really good at nails.
Aww.
And hair ended up becoming kind of the thing that I just was booked for most. But my clients to this day, I've had them for like 20 plus years. And they're like, I miss your facials or I miss your nails. And I love that. I kind of did all of it and I wanted to kind of recreate things that I saw that were being done. And I always had problems with thin hair. And so I always wanted long hair. And so I was always looking for something to do. So when I was 17, I was a platform artist with this, like the first guy that I think he created the individual strand extensions for Caucasian kind of slippy thin hair.
Okay.
And so I became a platform artist and I had fake hair and it was not real human hair, which was a nightmare.
So it was like the Barbie plastic hair.
Totally, down to my ankles. And I was a platform artist and I just thought I was like so cool. But it was really fun. And so I just kind of did everything. So I got to know people. When I would go out, my main goal was to go out to give out my cards and talk to people. And so I built my clientele super fast and I got really busy and I was busy. I kind of never stopped being busy.
Well, so I love that. And I think people can learn from just that tenacity of, we get so used to right now in this day and age going on social media and, trying to attract in the right amount of clients on there. But there's something to be said about being face to face with people. They call it belly to belly in sales and just getting to know the person that could potentially hire you.
Yeah.
And it can just like that quickly, that know, like, and trust relationship is built up where they're on your books.
Yeah.
Quickly. So I just want to remind everybody listening in right now, it's like, how often have you shown your face in public this last week and told people about what you do and how you can help them?
Yeah.
Let's think about it. So okay, you're getting this, clientele up and going. You're doing all of these things in the beauty industry.
I was the same way back then.
Yeah, I know. You got a lot
I do
going
it all
on today. But what I think is so special right now is you have this hair restoration program happening. So talk to me about how that came to be and how it's grown.
So I started to get really sick, and I thought it was just because I was working too hard, working too much. I always loved it. But as I got more and more allergic to things and my joints were hurting, I was just sick for several years. And
when you say sick, like what were your symptoms?
Oh my gosh, constant migraine, stomach problems. I was allergic. I started to become allergic to so many things that I felt like I couldn't eat. A lot of pain in my back, like I couldn't sleep. It was just pain all the time. And I had so many symptoms. And so it was really frustrating because I'm such a hard worker. I'm not a lazy person and I'm not a hypochondriac. So when I would go to the doctors, I would be told, well, everything's fine. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm dying.
Yeah.
And it was just really frustrating. And I still did all the things. I just I didn't have a choice. I had to make the income. And so I would just go and do. And as I got, I think it was after my first son, I was diagnosed with Lyme's disease, which was amazing in a way because it kind of gave a name to what I was going
Your
through.
Your answers almost.
Yeah. And it's still kind of controversial. A lot more people are coming out that they have it and they're starting to see it more as something that's real and viable. When I had it they were like, oh my gosh, don't jump on some crazy train. And I was like, are you kidding me? I need help. And whatever that is, so it affected my brain. I was feeling like I couldn't get my thoughts and capture my words and all of these things. But I didn't let that stop me because it almost propelled me in a way, because I was like, I'll be darned if I'm going to be knocked down from something like this. And so one of the things, though, that was happening was I was losing my hair.
Oh.
And so I had a big, spot in the front. I was having to come up with all these styles to cover it up. And I already loved hair. I never had great hair as a kid. So I was always obsessed. But when my hair started falling out, then I didn't feel like myself. I didn't feel pretty. I didn't feel confident. And I did hair. So I had to, it's like I had.
And hair is so much of your identity too.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember when I had breast implant illness and I was losing hair too.
Mm-hmm.
And part of it, I felt like, oh my gosh, like I just would constantly put it up in a bun
to
not show how thinning it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, I can't relate to you completely and bald spots and stuff like that, but that's just like, it hurts.
Yeah. And I don't think a lot of people knew what I was going through because I was really good at hiding it. And that's what got me into the hair restoration though, because I would try all these different things. And then the other thing is I was doing a lot of hair extensions because that was another way that I kind of leveled up my business because I was doing a lot of hair work and a lot of hours and I loved every second of it, but I was getting burnt. I was really busy. I wanted to get pregnant. So there was all these things that were kind of pressing on me to like back up from what I had. And I didn't see it any way because I had a full clientele. It was getting fuller by the minute. I had a huge wait list all the time. And as much as that was an honor and it was wonderful, I was in a trap. I couldn't change it. I didn't know how to change it. Mm-hmm. So I went to a seminar one time. I think it was out here in San Diego somewhere. And this girl had said, decide what you want to do. Decide how much you want to make. Decide how many hours you want to work and do it. Once I had my son, I ended up deciding that I wanted to work 3 days a week. So I worked a couple of long days. I still worked like 30 hours a week, but in 3 days. Mm-hmm. I think I worked 4 for a while, but I started doing hair extensions. Once I discovered the safer methods to do hair extensions, then I started to decide. I remember when she first told me to charge $150 an hour. I was like, are you out of your mind? That's embarrassing. Like, that's too much. I just didn't feel, like that was comfortable. So, but I did it because I thought I've got to do something. And then I started to shorten my days and raise my prices. And I was never really good at raising like haircuts and colors. So the extensions and the hair restoration gave me, from a business perspective, a reason and an okay way without feeling like I was gouging my clients.
Yeah.
Because even though that wasn't what you do that's what you have to do when you're an owner. You have to raise prices in order to get a raise. Otherwise you just work the same thing forever, right? So it was a way for me to increase my income and lessen my days. And that was really great. And it ended up leading into, okay, now this looks great, but the top of my head is totally like thin. So then I had to find solutions for that. So that started me on that whole journey.
So when you started to like research, okay, what can I do to get this hair restoration happening? Did you go to seminars? Did you Like, how did you learn what it was going to take to get your hair back?
It was a lot of hands-on and just experimenting because there's not a lot of information out there for hair loss. I think that hair restoration's been a little bit of a small market, and you know, think of like toupees and hair pieces and things like that. And I was like, that is baloney, because there's so many people. I was starting to see more and more women. And so I took any class I could get my hands on. I went and purchased wigs and cut them all up and start clipping them onto people's hair and putting them on with beads. And I did all these things, but then I noticed that there was some traction happening where the beads were. And it was just this constant journey of like, I'm not satisfied. And what I found through all of this time was that people care about, I mean, if they had like 17 hairs, they care about those 17 hairs. And especially women. Men would kind of be like, I'll just shave it, you know, a lot of them. But that wasn't true for most of them, but a lot of them were like, I'll just
more
shave
okay
it.
with it. Yeah.
But for women, it was like, I care about that hair. And so I didn't want to have anything to do with hurting somebody's hair. And some of that stuff just does, because it's just time. And, you know, so there was just so much about trying to figure out, how do I give them added hair, but not hurt the hair that was there. So then I kind of started researching the body and the food. And it just kind of has morphed into this amazing kind of an entity in itself.
Well, so you're doing epigenetics testing, right, at your salon. So talk to us about, what is epigenetics?
Yeah, it was a game changer, because I was doing all the things. We were, providing vitamins. We were doing laser. That was something I waited 20 years to do, and I finally did it. Then we got into growth factors, which another game changer. It just, the results that we get are so nuts. Like, even the doctor that works with me now was just like, this is like, my scientific brain does not
understand,
like, this does not compute.
Happened.
Yeah. So we were doing all the things. And then at a conference at one point, I came across this booth that it looked like skincare. And I was like, I don't want skincare. My assistant literally dragged me over there, and she's like, you have to see this. So we got there and we looked at what they were offering, and I couldn't wrap my head around it, but they were talking about your hair loss could have everything to do with your environment and how it's affecting your body.
So the epigenetics, what does it do? Like, is it a swab in the mouth?
No.
Okay, tell us.
We do that. We could do that for children, but for adults and, pretty much teens and adults, we take a few pieces of the hair. We have a drive that is a high-powered drive. It has a Tesla coil in it, and it actually transmits the data right away to Germany. And there is a supercomputer there that will match you up against thousands and thousands of different irritants, toxins, food additives, foods. And it gives you this huge report, and it just really breaks down all the things that are causing inflammation in your body. So it's not it doesn't replace anybody's doctor or even their holistic, medicine doctor. It just gives you a picture of your body for the last 90 days. And we have had so many people, their results transform, they lose weight. All these things happen when you start to look at what you're putting in your body and what you're exposed to. Something I didn't realize was that if one thing is wrong in your body will take from your hair, skin, and nails to rush to fix that thing.
Oh, wow.
So those are the least important things when it comes to the body functioning. And so we wanted to eliminate as much of that as we can. And it's just that I feel like it's sort of like the key that I've been looking for that is kind of put it all together. Okay,
so when you did this epigenetics test on yourself, what did you have to change afterwards? Like, what did you find out and then implement?
Oh, there was a lot of things. The most recent one was the coolest though, because I was like gaining weight and I'm like, what is wrong with my body? I did my report, and one of the things that came up for me was corn. And I've never had an intolerance or any problems with corn. And I realized I was eating Smart Pop every night as a little snack.
Yeah.
And I'd gained like 9 pounds, which was just bizarre in a short amount of time, like a month.
Yeah.
And so I got the report, and I stopped eating the Smart Pop, and I stopped eating corn chips. And it's only 90 days. That's the cool thing, is it only wants you to switch it up. Our bodies need a change. So as soon as I switched that up, I lost the 9 pounds. Like, I didn't do anything different, and I just dropped weight. And that's the thing, is our clients are dropping weight, which is kind of fun.
Well, yeah, because you're like thick hair and
thinner. I mean, can't beat
win-win.
that. Yeah. So but for me, there was just things like there's a lot of things like citric acid. There's a lot of chemicals and things, and I was already very sensitive. And so it does keep me on track, and I can check my products and make sure that I'm not using something that I'm intolerant to.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I need one of those.
It's amazing.
Testing.
For the hair, it has been an absolute game changer for us.
I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
So I know it hasn't been easy to go from, weaving people's hair to then going and doing extensions to now really you're at the front and center of this hair restoration. I don't know anybody else who's doing it. And I know you're going to start helping people do it a little bit more, right? We've talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you feel like has been the most challenging thing, business or mindset wise, when it comes to, being at the forefront and disrupting an industry?
It's challenging because I'm always looking for answers, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, tell me how to do this. I don't know how to do that. And it's like, I do know how to do all of the things, but
Yes.
what I found is that I'm creating things. So it has been difficult to find that answer, and it's a small industry. So I never stop thinking. I never stop creating. I think that it's important for people to understand that if you want to make this change, it can happen. And there has to be consistency, and you have to kind of do all the things, but it's so worth it.
Well, and we've talked about this before, right? Because when you sell something that's a little bit complicated for
Mhm.
just like the lay person that doesn't understand hair and restoration, all that kind of stuff, when you give too much information, people just start to go, "Ugh."
Yeah, it's just too much.
You could probably see it. It's like,
I totally watch it happen, and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
you're
pull
like,
back,
okay.
pull back.
I get excited about this for you because I think that there is such a huge industry for it. I know just with Chase, like he's 34 and he's already balding. Yeah. And he's like, well, I need to go to Turkey and get a hair transplant.
I know, it's crazy.
And I think he's so young. I'm like, I don't know how it's happening, but there has to be something like the epigenetics or something where he wants to get it taken care of. But I can see it like messing with his confidence a little bit. He wants to wear a hat more. He's even was like buying Rogaine. I was like, I don't even know if that stuff works. So
Rogaine does
does it?
work, but the problem with Rogaine is it creates more of like a vellus hair. So it's like a filler, which is good. But when you stop that will go away. And a lot of times doctors maybe don't remember to tell their client that, or I think a lot of them do, but people don't realize that if they stop and start with minoxidil or Rogaine, they're going to have, it's all going to fall out if they quit. So I usually try to start people on a natural program first. I even did some of these treatments on my dad, and he's 80, and I got growth on my dad's hair. And still, like, I did this like 5 years ago, and he's been doing treatments and using all of, the laser and all that stuff. And my sister just said the other day, totally randomly, like, Dad, you're totally growing hair. Like, you've never had hair in the very back. And it was just cute because I thought,
oh, yeah, it's working.
Yeah, it's working.
Okay, so one thing that I admire about you is that you keep Christ at the center of everything you do.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember we were talking about something in your business on a coaching call, and you're like, "Oh, I've prayed. I'm,
I prayed up." Yeah,
you're doing all the things. Can you kind of share with me what that looks like to keep Christ at the center of everything? Like, how do you lean on the Lord during like all this adversity in your business?
I have taught myself to trust him. And there is something really different about actually trusting him and wanting to trust him. And I noticed a huge shift at one point in my life when I actually really trusted him.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that if I could, tell anybody out there, like we talk about, trust in God, God has it under control, he's going to take care of things. I would hear that and I'd be like, yeah, thank you, God, but I didn't believe it because I was still super stressed out.
Yeah.
So now I use my stress as a barometer. Like, whoa, wait a minute, what's going on? Why am I all freaking out? Because if I give it to God, it'll just handle itself.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't say handle itself. He will handle it. I thought my Lyme was coming back after I had COVID. And I started getting the symptoms back. And I just was like, no, I was healed of Lyme. I absolutely will. I refused. And my doctor said, well, maybe just go in. I hear you and I respect you for trusting that God healed you. However, you could have been reinfected. Like maybe you could think of it that way. So I was like, I will go back and see that doctor. But I absolutely refused. I was like, Jesus healed me. And that is that.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like getting that undeniable, absolute trust with him and reminding myself it's a practice, right? I have to keep reminding myself, wait a minute, when I let this go, everything just is okay. I just become a more peaceful person, happy. Like even when there's hard things happening, I really am happy. You know, like I've heard you.
You have the joy of the Lord.
Totally. And I know what that means now. Like when he says that you can have peace in the storm, all those things I've heard my whole life, like I actually experience it now. And things can be really tragic. And I always, hold it like, it's like I take it with a grain of salt in a little way, because if something happened I know that people go through things that are so hard that none of us know how we're going to handle a tragedy. However, I'm holding all you guys responsible to keep me on track if anything ever does happen and I start going down, because I know any of us can. We're all susceptible to pain and heartache, but I hope as I grow, I continue to strengthen that, and that it's just unshakable,
Yep. So many of us don't realize that we're living in fear. Like not going after the business, not taking the risk is usually made out of fear.
Yeah.
Fear of loss or whatever. And something that's really helped me is I start saying out loud, like I fall out of agreement with the spirit of fear, because that is what fear is. It's a spirit. And the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And how does he do that? With all of his little spirits, with all his like minions coming around trying to like mess with us, right? And so I've been saying, I fall out of agreement with the spirit of fear. Lord, secure me in your love.
I like that.
And because that is the opposite of fear is love.
Yeah.
And when we're truly in like God's presence, are we fearful? Absolutely not. We're not even thinking of anything that could go wrong, because we know God's got us. We're secured in that. So little tangent there, but just your faith has played a huge role in everything that you're creating right now. Building out this whole hair restoration thing, you've had to create some awesome partnerships. So talk to me about how you were like, let's just give me an example of the doctor. Like, how did you get the doctor to say yes to you coming into a salon and building out this program with you?
Yeah, that was hard. For me, it wasn't hard, but I made it hard because I was like, how do I pay a doctor? I don't know what to do. And I have friends that are doctors, but it was awkward. I'm like, how do I?
You put the doctor on a pedestal.
I put anybody who, I feel like people that are intelligent, that go through school, I've always had such reverence for teachers and doctors and lawyers. I mean, people that put the time in.
Yeah.
Because I do, I have respect. So she was a client in the salon, and she'd been coming for about 3 years. She was really nice. And I remember her, mentioning that she was a doctor, and we have all these conversations, right? So I'm practically like, I have a doctorate in therapy. Not that she and I had those conversations, but it did come up that she was a doctor. And one day I just thought, wait a minute, Dr. Dawn? Oh my gosh, you're a doctor? She's like, yeah. I'm like, well, what do you think about like our program? And she was like, I actually think that I love seeing what I see. I love seeing your clients come in and out. I think you do a great job. I just asked her, I was like, what do you think? I mean, would you want to work with me? Because I really need your brain. And I love the way that she would explain things to me. I just asked her, and then she goes, yeah. I'm like, how would it work? And she just kind of rattled off a super easy way to do it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I love you. And she's like an awesome friend as well. So I feel really blessed to have her. She is able to do medical diagnosis and check, the things that like I don't pretend to be a doctor, and I don't want that to ever, I need to stay in my lane, which I do have a lot of expertise in actually trichology and things like that. But there are things that she can explain to me that I'm just like,
right.
Oh my gosh,
she
she's
brings
so smart.
that.
Yeah.
She brings that next level of expertise.
Yes, and gives clients that, that medical side, because I think it's very important.
Instead of Sheleen going out there and going, okay, I want to make this my new career, and I'm going to go out and I have to get all the certifications. And what you did is go, okay, I'm just going to stay in my lane, like you said, and I'm going to partner with the right people who already have that expertise. Let's come together and bring all of our strengths together. And where one is weak, the other is strong. And now you're able to give people such incredible results. And I think that's the thing that's going to continue to grow your business just organically is what happens when people get good results? They go and tell people about the results that they're getting. And so that's going to continue to build up your clientele. And I'm excited for other things that we've discussed about you building and bringing on into your empire. So I want you to leave every entrepreneur that's listening in right now with one tip that could really drastically change their business.
I think it's really important to value yourself, and don't be afraid to value yourself. I was afraid for a lot of years. And once I started to really realize like, hey, you know what? I really do know my stuff. I really have put a lot of time, a lot of energy into this. And I think it's really important to value yourself, but be realistic about getting there. Because I think a lot of people want to just go online and they see all these people getting rich and they want to just get rich. And then when they don't get rich, they get really upset. I would say to them, be diligent, be consistent, do a little bit all the time. And it's crazy how it'll grow. My business, like I was super busy working 80 hours a week and I make quadruple what I made back then. And it's all about like valuing your family, valuing your time, because time is, you can't get that back.
Yeah.
So when you have kids, it's okay to be an entrepreneur, because I used to have mom guilt that would kill me. But now when my kids go, Mom, you're never home, I'm like, I work 3 days a week. It is not my fault that I don't see you because you're in your room playing video games. You know what I mean? It's like, I can say that with like, I am home. I work 3 days a week. Now I might be on the computer a lot at home, but I'm home.
Yeah.
And so value yourself, value your time, give yourself grace. You know, it is hard sometimes, but it also can be so incredibly enriching, even when it's hard.
Yes.
You know, and stick with it.
My pastor always says this, it's you're the clay on the potter's wheel. And so even though it's hard, it's like you're being molded into a beautiful thing if you just stick with it. And
as you learn to trust the Lord, it becomes easy even when it's hard. And then it's because like when I'm all stressed out, like I'll tell my girls, well, I'm really stressed out right now, but I'm actually like, this is fun. Like I'm okay. Like I'm not happy. Like if I ever have an issue with my husband, I'm the same way. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm totally happy. I promise. I love him. I feel I'm happy. Yeah, we have our little things, but you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's just that kind of a thing of just learning to have joy.
Yes.
Even with the hard stuff.
Yep. Okay. Well, Sheleen, this was so great. I loved getting to know everything about the hair and just everything you have going on. Where can people find you?
My website is avisionarysalon.com. I'm A Visionary Salon everywhere. AVS Hair Restoration on Instagram. And we're just building out programs all the time. We have a lot of great programs and we can see people now remotely, which is amazing, and do most of our testing and all of that through the mail and through, Zoom or telephone calls. People send me a picture of their hair and I can pretty much, give them information and ideas about how they can get hair. Okay.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much. You've been amazing. Amazing mentor. I've loved having your leadership.
Thank you.
It's been enlightening and exciting because the way that you look at things is so like nice and precise. And my crazy brain needs that.
Wait, that's why we're a little good duo.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for listening in.